You mentioned NIL deals, and I think we'd be remiss to ignore that detail in that particular part of the story and
Right.
of how Deion has been able to succeed both at Jackson State and at Colorado so far as this perfect storm of the era of college football that we're in
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
the NIL, which is allowing these kids to make money off their name, image, and likeness, and of course the transfer portal, which has allowed them to treat college sports a little more like pro and professional free agency.
Yeah.
So, what is it about Dion, and how has he leveraged both of these tools to be able to rebuild this Colorado program, and I mean, we'll build up the Jackson State program as well.
Yeah. I mean, clearly a marketing genius, right? He's brought in his son Deion Sanders Jr. to document every single moment, right? They had the Coach Prime documentary. Their social media presence is very, very strong. And just thinking about all those eyes and impressions, that raises a player's valuation, right? Like if it's one thing if, this is a place where that marketing isn't happening, you can only demand so much. But if you're able to take that data and say, look at all these impressions I have, look at all the likes that we've gathered, look at people want to hear me on this podcast or see me on this TikTok, it starts to add up heavily. So I think just really having that sense of how to promote yourself effectively, this is the perfect time for him. I think 30 years ago, it would have been very difficult, right? Where, people were still getting paid, but it wasn't above the table. And I think now being able to show folks like you can live a full life, a wealthy life at this point. I'm seeing that clip where Shedeur Sanders is on the phone with Dion and with Tom Brady, and he's talking about driving his Rolls Royce, right? And just thinking about, I was like, man, what's this guy going to get once he turns an NFL player? Is he going to buy a spaceship? Like, what's going to happen? Right, so it's the perfect time. It's the perfect time to be able to show folks. They were always professionals, right? So being able to show them the ways in which they can capitalize it, because the reality is, not everyone's going to go pro. So some of these folks, they don't just need to be the nostalgic, oh man, we had such a great time back in 2023. They need to be able to take care of their families, regardless if they're going into professional sports or not.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely the perfect guy, this marketing genius, this relentless self promoter, who is able to raise the profile of these kids, this program, and I think NIL has revolutionized college sports, and he's just been in the right place, the right time, and of course the transfer portal, we can't ignore that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Has allowed him to attract this top tier talent, and I think he's going to continue to do so as he builds up this program, and it's just it's remarkable to see how well he's taken advantage of these tools at his disposal. And maybe, like you said, if this was 30 years ago, maybe this turnaround is not so sudden. Maybe he's having to, recruit these guys the old-fashioned way or have them transfer and sit out a season. And just there's so many roadblocks to the success or the, instant success that they're experiencing here. And obviously, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, that we're only 3-4 weeks into the season.
Right.
But ultimately, what is success for this program? We'll say, this year, the next 2-3 years, 5 years. What does success look like for Colorado, and what does success look like for Deion?
I think for Colorado is consistency, right? Something that I think they have to really guard against is not having the equivalent of like Fernando Mania or Linsanity, right? Like we can be really excited, the jerseys can be sold out, and then, let's say they lose at USC and they lose like 5 games straight. It can just get very quiet. And then if next season they're not able to sort of come out and really show them, right? Because the next season, 3 wins is not going to be impressive, right? This season, it's like, yeah, you're good now. Like you've already improved. You can just kind of like coast, but you have to continue to build and consistently improve. And I think that's what success is going to look like. I don't think it's championship or bust. I don't think they have to win the whole thing in order to say this was successful, because I don't think that's a necessarily fair metric, especially given that he went to Colorado. Like let's be honest. But I do think that they have to consistently improve, and it has to be something where the program has a transformed culture, right? It can't just be, once he steps away from it, because he's going to step away at some point. I don't think he's signing up to be their coach for the next 20 years. I don't think that's true. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's true. And I think it has to be something where it's really transformative. And for Deion, I think success looks like proving that he can coach on this level, so that when Florida State is open, or when Nick Saban retires, because I really think those are the two programs that are on his list. I think it's either Nick Saban's retirement or when Florida State has a vacancy. I think those are the places he wants to go. And so when either of those things happen, he's able to show, look, I took Colorado to fill in the blank. Like whatever that fill in the blank is has to be something that allows him to make that next step.
Yeah, I think we can say, I mean, this season is already a success at some level. Obviously you would hope that they finish somewhere around 500, maybe win 8 games. Some of the college experts have pegged them around 7-8 wins, which would be a massive leap.
Yeah.
And I think, he definitely isn't going to be there for 20 years. I think my hope is that he stays there for, 3 to 5 years, maybe 3 years, just
3.
so we are able to see the full extent of his recruiting capabilities, of the talent that he's going to transfer, because it's hard to build up a college football program, even with NIL and transfer portals and all that stuff. You can't build it overnight, and I think for success for him would be, I think they're moving to the Big 12 next year, so it would be competing for at least the the share of the Big 12 title, being I think finishing this season ranked would be a massive success. And if they're able to finish, somewhere in the top 15, top 10 next year, within the next 2-3 years, I think that'd be a massive success. And obviously Deion is a very ambitious person. I do see him moving on to another job. And like you said, if he is able to take Colorado back to prominence, back to, top 15, top 10 in the nation, one can only wonder what he would be able to achieve at a Florida State or Alabama or Texas A&M or one of these, big time schools down in the South that have this fertile recruiting ground and all that. Because I'm sure it's hard to get kids out to Colorado. It's not exactly, but I think he's already exceeded expectations so far, and we'll have to see. We'll have to revisit this. Maybe we can have another conversation at the end of the season and do kind of a year in review for Colorado and see what's next.